Hi, I'm Mrs. Vukasovich, the Head of English at George Salter Academy. The purpose of this Connect workshop is to inform you of the learning journey that your child will go through in English at George Salter Academy, to show you what assessment will look like at Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4, and to show you how best to support your child with English at home and to remind you of the benefits of reading. So I thought I would begin the session by reading out our intent statement for English. So what we hope to achieve by your student studying English at George Salter Academy is that English exposes students to the culturally rich and diverse literature along with the English literary heritage texts that they are entitled to read and enjoy. The curriculum aims to promote a love of reading and of the subject. English aims to be ambitious for every child, empowering them with the skills of reading, writing and spoken language, and to equip young people to be fully participating members of society. Students will develop their creativity and confidence as they engage in writing for different audiences and purposes, using language to be able to articulate themselves effectively. Students will be encouraged to develop analytical skills and the ability to interpret information critically. Drawing on cross-curricular links, English enables students to develop culturally, emotionally, intellectually, socially and spiritually in order to empathise with others and to understand the human condition and experience. And the impact that we hope to have through your child studying English at GSA is that students will leave us as resilient, literary and articulate communicators who are able to express themselves and understand others with depth and empathy. They will have the skills, knowledge and qualifications to allow them to thrive in the wider world. So the way that we address this is through our learning journey. In Year 7, students will take part in 3 different schemes of work. The first is called Suffering and Corruption and is mainly centred around Oliver Twist. The second scheme of work is called Empathy and Judgment, and this is centred around In the Sea There Are Crocodiles. And there is a third scheme of work which is A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is a comedy written by Shakespeare. Then we move on to Year 8 and we start with War and Conflict topic, which is largely centred around Sheriff's Journey's End. Then we move on to Romeo and Juliet, which is the tragedy of Shakespeare. And then we finally move on to Noughts and Crosses by Malorie Blackman in our topic called Power. In Year 9, we then move on to a topic called Loyalty and Betrayal, which is centred around Wuthering Heights. We have Of Mice and Men, which is a topic called Freedom and Equality. And then we have a topic called Tragic Experiences, which is centred around Arthur Miller's A View from the Bridge. Moving into Year 10, students then start to do their Key Stage 4 texts, their GCSE texts. So they will look at A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, they'll look at Blood Brothers by Willie Russell, and they will look at Macbeth by William Shakespeare, which is half in Year 10 and half in Year 11. What they then do with the Power and Conflict poetry is we slot those into the schemes of work where the theme that is studied in that poem will link with the topic that they're doing in A Christmas Carol or in Blood Brothers, for example. Students in Key Stage 4 will also study a range of unseen poetry to prepare them for the unseen part of their exam. So as you can see, in Key Stage 3 there are 3 schemes of work per year, 1 per term. They are thematically based to help students to be able to make those connections across the texts and across the different forms of writing rather than just focusing on one text, but we do sort of have a main text per topic. They cover a range of forms of literature, so all of the topics will cover poetry, prose, plays, non-fictional transactional writing such as articles, letters, speeches, so that they're getting a real thorough understanding of that theme. And they gradually build on their skills and knowledge in each topic. They have 2 assessment points per year in Key Stage 3, 1 near to Christmas and then 1 near the summer term to check their progress. And then at Key Stage 4, they will have 4 exams. So they'll have 2 literature exams and 2 language exams, which leads to 2 GCSEs in total. Again, this is taught thematically, as I already mentioned, so that the unseen poetry and the poetry links in with the key themes in the main texts. So now that you know what your child will be studying, it's important to know how to support your child in English at home. So one of the ways that you can support your child is to encourage your child to speak through their subject knowledge. By taking on the role of a student, you can ask your child to explain a topic from one of their subjects, to listen, ask them a question if you don't fully understand what they're saying, and this will help them to understand the topic themselves through the process of telling you what they know, and it will help with the transferal of their knowledge from their short-term memory to their long-term memory, which ultimately is what we're aiming to do, so that when they get to Key Stage 4 they can remember all of the skills and knowledge needed to be able to answer the exam, and then obviously going on into the wider world after their Key Stage 4 education. So to support you with this, rather than just asking questions about things that you're not really sure about, or you haven't much idea about yourself because you haven't been doing the lessons, we've created a number of different resources to help you. So in Key Stage 3 we have knowledge organisers, and these are given to your child, especially approaching assessment points, but they're also on their homework booklets, and these are a consolidation on one sheet of every important piece of information that they need to know to help them with their upcoming assessments. We also have some parental guides which we've created in English, which are a document that talks through all of the key information needed to know, but then also has some questions on the back page which are designed to help you to have those conversations with your children that can lead them to giving you those answers to help them to revise for these assessments. So questions such as, who is Fabio Guida? Why did he write In the Sea There Were Crocodiles? Who is Showman Hardy? What was her poetry about? And then hopefully that will lead you to have those productive conversations with your children to help them to revise what they've done in school. At Key Stage 4, a really similar approach would be helpful, so it's still important to transfer that short-term knowledge into their long-term memory. So the best way to do that is by talking it through, by teaching somebody else what they've learnt, and then that means that they have understood it. So we've also developed parental guides which are on the school website for all of the Key Stage 4 topics that they do, and for the language and the literature, that is. I've also put on the slide a range of different websites that your child can go to support with their revision and their knowledge acquisition. So BBC Biteside is a really good place to go. There's also SparkNotes or Shmoop, which can be really helpful for plot summaries and comprehension questions. You can also access full electronic copies of Macbeth and A Christmas Carol, which can be really useful to get them to read it if they don't have a copy at home. We also provide £1 versions of A Christmas Carol and Macbeth, which can be purchased on Parent Pay. These are really useful to have in class when your child is studying A Christmas Carol or Macbeth, because this enables them to make notes as we go along and will therefore be a lot easier to revise from. They can't make notes in the copies that we have at school, so if they have their own version, that can be really useful. It's also good to get them to reread the texts in the lead up to the exam so that their memory's refreshed of plot, character and theme. Purchasing AQA revision guides is also really helpful. So the exam board that we do at GSA is AQA. You would want to be purchasing the Power and Conflict Poetry, Blood Brothers, A Christmas Carol and Macbeth, and they also do versions of the language paper revision guides as well. All of these can be really, really useful at helping your child to get their revision in as early as possible. So even from year 10, I would be encouraging them to use those. No matter what key stage your child is in, revision can be really useful at helping them to go over key information and prepare for those assessments. So there's often a bit of a debate about whether music helps with revision or not, and actually studies have found that sometimes music doesn't improve learning, and actually that the best condition for learning and study was silence. So the first thing you can do to support your child is by providing them with a really quiet place that's away from phones or technology and just allows them to really get into that revision. You want to aim for revision that is about 45 minutes at a time, and then taking 5 to 10 minute breaks in between. And some of the revision strategies that you can use are mind maps, using post-it notes to write down key quotations and just putting them in common places around the home, copying notes, rewriting them, checking for any errors. Completing past papers is a really, really good way of revising, and those are provided by us in school whenever they are needed. Watching videos or listening to podcasts can be really useful. There are lots of things on YouTube or Spotify that are there to support with English literature. Quizzes, so you could create your own quizzes, you could use ones that are already made. There are lots online, again, on those websites that I pointed to earlier. Creating flashcards can be really good, and having somebody to test you. Teaching a friend or a sibling or a parent, which those parental guides are there to aid with. Summarising information, highlighting key information on a text, using mnemonics, using images to remember key ideas, and rereading the texts. And then the last thing that I just wanted to draw your attention to is the importance of reading. So research into the reading skills of 15-year-olds across the world found that children who are more interested in reading tend to do better at school than those who don't read for pleasure. Reading for pleasure is more important for a children's cognitive development than their parents' levels of education, and it's a more powerful factor in life achievement than their socio-economic background. The difference between children who read for 30 minutes a day compared to those who rarely read is nearly a whole year's worth of schooling. Children who read books often gain higher results in maths, vocabulary and spelling tests at age 16 than those who read less regularly. And the key number or the magic number, if you like, for students reading is 15 minutes a day. So that's the minimum time that is recommended to make substantial gains in reading achievement. So by encouraging your child to read and discussing those books with them and sort of developing a real love of reading in your home, that is going to have more of an impact on their education than any other factor that you can do at home, really. So it's really important, obviously for English, but for every single subject as well, that children are developing their vocabulary, their reading comprehension. And a lot of the exams, especially when they get to Key Stage 4, require quite a high reading level, and students will struggle to access those exams, let alone answer the questions and have the knowledge needed to do that if they're unable to even read those questions. So reading is a really key, important thing to do at home and to support your child. Thank you so much for listening, and if you do have any questions, please feel free to email me or one of the post holders in English. Our email addresses are on the George Salter website. Thank you. Bye.